Hey guys, Sharnice here. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to come really quickly to share my top residency interview tips. I just completed all of my interviews and I learned a lot throughout this entire interview process. I made a lot of mistakes and I made a lot of good decisions. So if you want my top 5 tips on how to ace your residency interview, stay tuned. All right, my number 1 tip is prepare. Preparation is key. The first thing you want to prepare is why the specialty you're choosing, why the program, and if you're moving from a different state, why that area, why that state. This information is crucial. And when you're answering things like why this specialty, why this program, they don't want to hear the generic answers. Everyone became a doctor because they want to help people. Everyone wants to serve diverse population. Everyone wants to serve underserved communities. This is the time to really dig deep and think about what you want to do as a doctor and why that specialty means so much to you. And that's how you should frame it. It means this much to me because of X, Y, and Z. It aligns with what I'm passionate about as a person and as a physician. So really prepare the answers to those questions. That'll be really important. Another way that you should prepare is you should make a document with frequently asked questions in residency interviews and just draft out the answers to those questions. A big tip that I got is to make sure that you have a bank of scenarios. Things like a time you worked in a team, a time you didn't agree with someone, a time that you experienced failure or a setback. They want to know how you deal with things, how you deal with people, how you overcome failure, how you problem solve. So make sure that before you get into that interview, that you can pull from different scenarios and be able to talk about them off the fly. I will link a webpage with some of the frequently asked questions that come up in residency interviews, just for those of you who want to prepare. Also, have questions for the program directors, the assistant program directors, whoever's interviewing you. I'm not talking generic questions like, what do you like about your residents? What do you like, really go on the website, go on the socials, find things that they've done. Like if they do certain fundraisers every year for a certain charity event, ask them, do you think that's going to be happening this year? Is there any way that I can get involved? How are residents involved in X, Y, and Z? Really show them that you've been keeping an eye out for their program, that you know what's going on, and that you're eager to learn more about what you already know from the websites and such. The overall goal is that you want to come off seasoned, even if this is your only interview, even if it's your first or second interview. You want to come off like, oh, this person knows their stuff. This person knows how to prepare for an interview and knows how to show up for an interview. Tip number 2 is all about presentation. Make sure that for your interview, you look presentable. Some interviews are in person, some are online, some of them are early, some of them are later in the day. Either way, make sure that you wake up at a decent hour. Make sure you look well rested. Make sure you look bright in the face. For people who like to wear makeup, make sure you have like a professional face on. Make sure that you're well groomed. All these things matter. Especially if you've submitted a really nice photo, you want to go into that interview reflecting that. The outfit that you're wearing, it's recommended to wear a blazer or a shirt. I say, you can even wear what you wore in your ERAS photo. But whatever you do, just make sure that you're fully dressed. And I say this for a lot of the virtual interviews. We grew up in the day and age where we wear the top and not the bottom and the blazer. But you'd be surprised. Someone told me that in their interview, they asked them if they could teach them anything at that moment, and it happened to be like a dance move that they wanted to teach them. So if you have to get up in your interview at any point, you just never know what's going to happen. Be fully dressed. Be fully dressed, please. My third tip is to be enthusiastic and polite. When you get into that interview and they ask, how are you doing? You want to let them know that you're happy to be there. If you're not a naturally bubbly person, fine. But you can just say, you know what? I'm doing much better now that I'm here. You can say, I am so excited to be there. Just make sure that you relay that enthusiasm to them. A smile goes a long way. And at the end of the day, you accepted the invitation to interview there. So show that excitement. This also ties back to tip 1 with preparation. If you are showing them all the things you know about the program, talking about the different electives that are offered, talking about the different programming that they have, they will get the feeling that, wow, okay, this person is really excited and enthusiastic about this program. Tip number 4, and this is the most important tip of all, be yourself. Be yourself. The worst feeling is going into an interview and feeling all stuffed up, and then the moment you end that interview feeling like, because what that means is that that program is not for you. If you couldn't feel like you could be yourself, then that is not a place for you. You have to be intentional about being yourself, because just as much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You want to be sure that this is an environment that you feel like you can fit in. You can fit in with the residents. You can feel like you can approach the program directors, things like that. So really show them who you are. They want to know you. They read your CV, they read your personal statement. Now they just want to know who you are at your core. And this is really the time to dig deep. So a short story. I went into an interview and I think the question was, what motivates you? And, you know, I was pulling from my personal statement, like, oh, what motivates me is community. It's about to go off the rail because it's an answer that I also prepared. And my interviewer stopped me and she said, Sharnice, I've read all of this in your personal statement. I think you're outstanding. I want you to be real with me right now. I was like, what? She even went out of her way to read one of my letters of recommendation. I never read. I waived my right to read it. She read it to me and she was like, so do you see why I want to know more about you? Tell me. She was like, tell me the truth. Tell me the real. And so you don't want to have your interviewer tell you that. A lot of interviewers won't tell you that. They'll probably just write down generic answer, whatever. You really want to be true to yourself and tell them what's not on the paper. Tell them what's not on the application. Show them your personality. Show them what really matters to you as an individual, not just as a resident, not just as a doctor. Tell them about how much you love cooking. Tell them about how much it means to you when people eat your food and your family's at the table and you bring people together. That kind of stuff is important too. So tip number 5 is kind of like an umbrella tip. It's about post-interview organization. So you want to make sure that you have a residency tracker. And in your residency tracker after your interview, you just want to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 the feel of the interview. And also you want to rate based on how many interviews you've received. In what spot do you think you're going to rank that program? And lastly, you want to put some notes. I have like a pros and cons list. Sometimes you can just do general notes, but things that really stand out to you that are important. Does the program have a focus on resident wellness? What is the call schedule? What EMR do they use? Is it one that you're familiar with? Is it one that you're not familiar with? Do they have different educational stipends, meal stipends, things like that? Things that are important to you. And then also a big part of the post-interview organization is to reach out with a thank you note. Now, be careful with this because some programs will indicate that they don't want post-interview communication, and that's fine. If they don't send a thank you note. But if they do, go ahead and send a thank you note. These programs are interviewing candidates from the month of October to January, even February, and they're taking time out of their day to interview you, so just thank them and just show appreciation for that. So guys, those are my top 5 ERAS residency interview tips. If you have any questions at all, as usual, feel free to email me, feel free to DM me, follow me on Instagram at dr.sharnice, and I will see you next time.